We appreciate you giving us some of your valuable time to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, coming to you from the studio that is second to none, provided by First Star Logistics. And we have a very interesting guest for you today because it is combine time. And everybody's in Indianapolis. The entire National Football League pretty much gathers in Indianapolis. And Jerry Montgomery, the new defensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, is out there with the entire staff and a lot of members of the organization as well, evaluating talent. And Al Golden is using this as not only evaluating college talent, but still conducting meetings, exchanging information with the coaching staff, and in part of the process of putting together a playbook that they're going to be presenting to the players. So there's a lot going on. Time management is key right now. I mean, it's like grade and evaluate the current players on the roster, grade and evaluate veteran free agents, grade and evaluate these college players when you see them at the combine. All of that is going on, as well as putting together a playbook for your team the upcoming season. So, man, not enough hours in the day. And Jerry Montgomery talks about that and so much more, including trying to be a husband and a father to his family. Got his work cut out for him. We know your time's valuable. Thank you for carving time with us to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, coming to you from our studios at First Star Logistics. And our special guest is coming to us from a hotel room in Indianapolis because he's at the combine. And you talk about a guy that is busy. And, man, we do appreciate him carving time. Time management is a big deal right now. There's not enough hours in the day for Jerry Montgomery, defensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, Coach, I mean, whew. You must your head must be whirling. I mean, it's a whirlwind for you. Tell us how it's been for you.
Yeah, it's been good. Love the people, and it's been a good transition, but a busy one, right? And as we were talking earlier, just 3 teams and essentially a 1-year span. Going from leaving Green Bay to New England to here, and just learning new systems, new terminology, on top of just the obligations that you got to get done from an eval standpoint with free agency and then the combine. And it's just a busy time. And then, I'm a little bit of a pleaser, so I want to make sure the work that I'm doing is up to par with how we want it done. And so it's a process, and things only get easier as you get through, year one with a team and organization and the people you work with. So, yeah, just a process.
A busy one at that. No question about it. What's defensive coordinator Al Golden like when you guys have meetings? I mean, like you said, this is your third team doing things different ways in such a short period of time. I'm sure there are some things with one organization that, man, I really like how they did that. Not so much that. So you've got a pretty varied background here in a short period of time. Is Coach Golden, is he pretty much willing to listen to ideas and concepts and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. He is. And I love what he's doing. We're talking ball and throwing out ideas, and he's got the final say on everything. But I mean, he's a bright mind. The way he thinks is unique, and he's got a coordinator's mind, and he's got a process, and he goes through it, and it's neat to sit in there and learn and listen, and so I'm excited about it and excited about working with him.
I'm sure the first step, and they probably commingle a little bit, but grade and evaluate the players that are currently on the roster, and you do have a significant free agent in B.J. Hill, who I hope we can re-sign, because that dude, man, he gives his effort every single snap, and he's a versatile kid. But have you had time to not only look at tape, but reach out, whether it be, text, email, Zoom, phone call, whatever, to some of the players, or is it a little bit early for that?
Yeah, I've spoken with some of the guys. Some of the guys are in the building, and that'll be something that I'll continue to do each day that I'm here. Reach out to the guys, but definitely, I feel like we got a good group, and obviously we can add, but you'd like to keep some pieces that are possibly that are on that block where they may be here, they may not. Would love to keep some of those guys, so we'll find out what happens.
And with that, you're also grading and evaluating potential free agents. You're looking at that tape, and guys are going to be, available to you here pretty quickly. Man, they're going to be on the market, and now also here you are for the combine. You got to take a look at college prospects because the draft's coming up, and man, that's a lot. How do you commingle it? Do you have priorities as to step one, step two, step three? How do you get all that done? Being all a new staff with everybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, it definitely time consuming, but they give you deadlines on when certain things, need to be done. So you prioritize it by that. And be honest with you, we've got a young man by the name of Mike Moon that's been here, that's been able to help with the process. He'll be, helping out with the front. So been nice to have his help. And it's, you can't do it all yourself. So it's but it's been good. Process has been good. They give you enough time to get it done. So you just, you go in a closet and kind of get it done, and then you come out. So
I hear that. Sir. So you and Scott Peters, it's kind of unique. I mean, here you just game planned. Both you guys were in the trenches, like our podcast here, we're in the trenches, but you guys were the coaches in the trenches against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm sure Zach Taylor has already talked to you about, man, did you notice any tendencies? Did you pick up on anything, that we might be doing as you prep for us? You just played us so recently, and you watched a lot of tape on us. What have you had those kind of meetings with Zach, or is that early?
Yeah, no, I mean, as the process went through of hiring, I mean, you talk about things and you share things, and so yeah, we've had some conversations about those things, probably not as detailed as we will eventually, but yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of it is how you process and how you see things, and then when you share it, do they see it the same way, or they say, oh, that's a unique way to look at it. So yeah, so it's been good, and like I said, we were both on the other end of that game last year, and shoot, I mean, you guys were a turnover away from, walking in with the lead to win that game also.
I thought the offensive and defensive lines for the Patriots were a big deal in that football game. I thought that was a big key to keeping it very competitive, and anybody's football game. And like you said, a mistake decided it. But I thought up front you guys played exceptionally well on both sides of it. Have you already started meeting as a coaching staff with Al and the rest of the coaching staff to assemble the playbook, or is that too early right now?
No, that's something that we definitely do. We've done it every day we've been in the office, so we spend quite a bit of time together as a staff, and it's been fun. Like I said, we sit down, we learn, we share things we like, things we don't like, things the guys do really well, things they don't do really well, and kind of slowly putting it all together.
So your defense was an aggressive, penetrating, style of defense. But do you like to have versatility, in your defensive lineman? For example, like B.J. Hill, he's played some nose, he's played three technique, for the Cincinnati Bengals. He provides, somebody that gives you position versatility. Is that important to you as you're evaluating, current players that are out there, current players on the roster, players that are out there in free agency, and then college players as well?
Yeah, anytime you have a guy that can line up across the line of scrimmage, that holds value. And when you say versatility, that's important. A guy that can, be a staple in the run game, but then can be on the field on third down, or a guy that can play defensive end and then slide in and play, three technique, or a guy that could play DN and be able to slide in and play three technique. All those things add value to what you want to do and help us, put the best system together possible. So definitely, I welcome any guys that add versatility to the group that they can do multiple things.
I mean, it's not like a defensive lineman is never going to be in a situation where he has to two gap somebody, take him right down the middle. But um, you guys like to, at least looks like you like to get an edge or hit a gap or that sort of thing. Will it be a little bit of both, depending on the situation, depending on the game circumstances?
Yeah, we're going through that process now on what we want to do and how we want to do it. So I think only time will tell, and either way it goes, whatever Al wants, we'll get it done. So I mean that's the most important thing, getting the Jimmies and Joes to go from point A to point B. So
there you go. You and Coach Peters, you've worked together. You've scripted, organized team activities, mini camps, training camp work, all of that with the Patriots last year. Working with each other. How big an advantage is that as you embark, on another team? The fact that you guys have both worked together and have already gone through these various processes that you need to do to get ready for a good season.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like if there's things that we need to work on from a front standpoint, and we need good looks, and we can do cross the halls, and I can go down to coach and say, hey, look, I need some of this, whether we do half line or pods, I need to get some of these looks. Is this something you're interested in doing? And he would be like, hey, yeah, let's get it done. We need that work too. So, I got no ego, never have, never will. And, we're only as good as we're willing to, work and put the time in. And so if they're willing to do it, let's go down there and team up and make the group better. So, he's very easy to work with, and as am I.
So as you look at the opponents on the Bengals this upcoming season, the Patriots are there. Now, again, okay, it's new coaching staff, but the people, the players, a lot of the players will be there. And having, coached these guys, what their particular strengths and weaknesses might be, and things that might cause them problems, things that they're really good at. The New York Jets, they got a new coaching staff, but you game planned against some of the core players that are going to be playing in the same way. I mean, you've studied them, and what their strengths and weaknesses are in that sort of thing. The Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills on the schedule, and there's always going to be personnel changes. It's never the exact same team, top to bottom, but there'll be a lot of core players that an awfully lot about. Both you and Scott Peters, and then Mike Hodges coming in from the Saints. All the NFC teams, I'm sure he's got a pretty good handle on things that they might do schematically and personnel wise and everything. How big is that as you put your staff together with all the various experiences that they have within not only a conference but divisions that you guys can draw upon? That's got to be a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, anybody that you can bring in that has experience in different divisions, facing different teams, you always love to share those ideas. And ultimately, things change so much from 1 year to the next that things can be different from what you saw last year. So it's always good to go back and look at those things. But more importantly, what are they doing now? How do they do it? How do they want to attack you? How do we want to counter that? And so all that goes, like all the pieces to a puzzle that you got to figure out throughout the year.
So what's the order of events as you're getting ready for the combine? As we mentioned, you're in a hotel room, and tomorrow it starts, full bore. You're getting ready for it. I'm sure you guys are still having your organizational meetings, as a coaching staff. But the defensive line is the first group up. I mean, you get right after it tomorrow, Coach. It's what is it? Specialists and the defensive line, place kickers, and the defensive line get going right away. And there's a good number of guys, right around 40, I think. There were 30-odd defensive tackles, 6 nose tackles, I think it is, something like that are showing up at this thing. Have you already studied tape on some of these guys, or do you want to take a look at them and then study tape after the fact, or is it both? Do you look at tape, then look at them at the combine, then look at tape again, and it's like, boy, what he showed kind of out there in the field didn't translate. Let me look at the tape again, because sometimes guys, their athleticism doesn't show up on tape. And sometimes a guy shows up on tape and in the combine, he doesn't look very athletic. It can be weird that way, can it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with these guys go through a whole process, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, like, what does the film look like? What type of product is this kid when he's on the football field? I'm a firm believer in, what you put on film represents you, right, wrong, or indifferent. So, a leopard's always going to wear a spot. So if you're seeing something that continues to show up, you're like, okay, these are the issues. Are these things we can fix? But, the film doesn't lie. So, and then when you get them here, they've been in a process where they're training for 40s and pro agilities. And so, like, their football movements aren't something they've been really working on. So, like, to penalize a guy for not looking great in some of the drill work stuff. But, the only thing I really care about is, like, when I turn on the film, what's it look like? What are we getting day in and day out? How does he work? Is he productive? Or is he just a big guy out there that is there and not being productive? So, like, it just, all that stuff plays into it. So you can take some of the stuff that you see here with a grain of salt, but, like, I put a lot of stock into what the film looks like.
No doubt. So some guys can look like Tarzan, play like Jane, as the old saying goes, and everything in between, I guess, But what Duke Tobin and his staff do a phenomenal job for the Cincinnati Bengals with their year-round evaluation of the college and veteran free agent prospects. And the coaching staff's heavily involved. I mean, you guys play a major role in what goes on in determining, the selection process of who you might want to sign in both veteran free agency and draft in the college game. I know you haven't had a big exposure to it yet, but how much did the coaching staff have in terms of input when you were at Green Bay and New England before coming here to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to do evaluations, and they want to know what your thoughts are. But at the end of the day, I mean, their jobs are to evaluate and draft. And so, I think you have, you voice your opinion, but ultimately they make those decisions. So it'll be unique to be a part of, a place where, your opinion is heard, loud and clear, compared to it just being heard, So, so I'm excited about it. And, it puts more emphasis on, the type of work that you put into these evaluations. So it's important that you do a good job of, what you're seeing and how you see it compared to how they see it. So
when you're watching tape, coach, and you see a guy whose physical traits don't mesh with the schematic that, that he's trying to play, I mean, it's like, man, they recruited a guy like, geez, this guy just does not fit what they're trying to get done schematically. Is that a tough thing to filter out, during the evaluation process? And I mean, is it this guy, if he were in the right system with the right coaching, he could be a really productive player? Is that a tough thing to diagnose?
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So one thing I've learned over the years is some guys, what you see on film is like, they are what they are. When you get them, that's what you're getting. And there's some guys that you see on film that may not play hard consistently, but they show flashes. And then it's like, all right, if we take this guy, can we get that out of him? Because it's more of a effort and a play style deal that you got to get him to, play the way that you want him to play all the time. And then there's those guys that are out there that look like Tarzan and play like Jane. And you're like, man, this guy looks great getting off the bus, but
Right.
can we develop him? Can we develop him into, and I think sometimes the old saying is like, can I be that guy to fix this guy or get him to? And so, like, to me, like, what do you need? Do you need guys to come in right now and impact and be the guys that you need to play right now? Or can you take, a 6th or 7th round guy and develop that guy over, a year or 2-year span to get him where you need him to be? So, like, there's a lot of different, approaches that you can take with this. And it's just, what are your needs, and what type of timeline do you have to get that done? And do you have the leeway to do it because you have good guys in place? Or, and then two, you might have guys that are great football players that are instinctive and all that, but then they got off the field issues. And is your locker room strong enough to withstand that and be able to help mold this young man? So there's a lot of things that go into it. And so it's just, it's one big process. And that's why, Duke and his staff do a lot of research on, everything. And so, and same with the coaching staff. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, you coaches you're everything. I mean, your teachers, your psychologists, your parents, your coaches. You fill so many roles, for a lot of these guys. And like you say, particularly the guys from fifth, sixth, seventh round, there might be a lot of meat on the bone there in terms of getting them squared away off the field as well as on the football field. But that development process sometimes can be really rewarding. I mean, you can uncover a diamond, right? I mean, this guy ends up being I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it can happen where, you take a guy and the development of the guy, not only as a football player, but as a person, like you're talking about, is massive, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's no better feeling than, and like, it's been neat to have some undrafted rookie free agents be able to develop and become starters in this league. And, it's very rewarding, but it's rewarding to take a guy in the high picks that is supposed to be this and that. And maybe it's a new system and they learn. And just like anything, there's no better feeling than when a guy looks at you and says, like, Coach, man, that works. That works. This stuff we've been working, man, that works. And then building those relationships with those guys and getting them to play at a high level. And so it's just very rewarding when it works out. And then there's times too where, sometimes it's just not whether a great fit for, what we're doing, or, he's thinking too much. And so as coaches, you got to find ways to get these guys to do their job at a high level and stop them from thinking. And maybe you get a thinking partner with those guys. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. I mean, react, not time to think, man. There's no time out there. How tough is it, Coach, when a guy comes in and he's been taught certain techniques and now he has to unlearn and relearn techniques that you want him to understand? Are you a coach that's like, what, hey, my techniques I know work. I want you to do these techniques. Or you're a guy that, hey, some of the stuff you did really works for your body type. Not everybody has the same length of arms. The same, one guy might have a short torso, another one long torso. There's all kinds of body geometry and all that goes into it. Are you amenable to adapting? Like, hey, if that's work for you, you can incorporate that in the toolbox, but I got other tools for you in this toolbox. How do you operate that way, Coach?
Yeah. So, like, I would say guys that are free agents that have played in the league and have had a lot of success, those guys, you're like, all right, look, how do you, this is what we're trying to get done. How have you gotten from point A to point B fundamentally? All right. Okay. That's something I can work with. Like, all right, let's not change that. This is how we want to play it. How you get to it is a little different than how we teach it. All right, let's keep it moving. And then when you get the young guys in here, you try your best to get them to play within the system to the best of their ability. And again, you don't want to force feed this puzzle piece into this spot if it's not a great fit. And if you need to make adjustments as a coach, that's your job to kind of tweak it. But there's some things that are going to be non-negotiable. As Al would say. And then there's some things that there's some wiggle room on. But for the most part, like there's a picture that we want it to look like at the end of the day. So, like, how do we get to that? And so everybody's slightly different. And not everybody's built the same, like you said. You got some guys that are longer than others, some that are shorter. And it's our job as coaches to get them to play within the system to the best of their ability.
So if you had in terms of meetings with Al, has it been one-on-one where he takes all of his position coaches and hey, let's talk about, my expectations of what I want from you and your expectations of what you're looking for out of me. And has it been that type of thing, as well as meeting as an entire defensive staff, or have you guys been meeting every possible way you can meet? How's that been going so far?
Yeah, no, we've met as a group, and it's been awesome. So like we met as a group, and like I said earlier, we're just kind of going through the process of what we want to do, how we want to do it, and what we want it to look like. And so we're still in that process. But like I said, it's been fun to sit back and learn and hear of everybody's backgrounds and their stories, and how we've all come together to try to get this thing right.
Man, I'd love to kind of listen in on that football think tank. I mean, that must be unbelievable when you guys all get together. Everybody's just like, okay, let's get some ideas out here, guys. What are we thinking? I mean, there must be some serious football, high level football that's going on there. That's pretty good stuff for sure.
Yeah, no, it is. It's been neat. It's been fun. So I'm learning and learn something new every day.
Coach, I know you're in Indy. You got a family. You like you said, 3 jobs in less than a calendar year. Man, your wife is a superstar, obviously. I mean, getting housing together and all that. How's that process coming along as well? That's another thing that's on your mind right now too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the process of getting here. The kids are here; they're in school. We're kind of in a short-term, living spot until we find a place. Which, like anything, right? The housing market is competitive here, so
Right.
we're in search. And probably the worst thing that's happened, and is my truck. My truck was stolen, and so
No.
yeah. So other than that, they have found it, so we're in the process of getting it back, and hopefully it's not too bad. So we will see. But other than that, it's been good, and it's a process you go through when you go through transition. So
Was it stolen at your residence or by the stadium?
uh at my residence. So
Oh man, unbelievable. How
right.
about that stroke of luck, or bad luck? But you know what? I'm glad they found it, and one thing that football players and coaches like yourself, you've done both. Resiliency is a big deal, right? And dealing with adversity. I mean, that's something that you guys have to handle on a daily basis. But man, leave Coach alone, everybody. I mean, let him get his family adjusted and settled into Cincinnati. Go find somebody else to bother, for crying out loud. Let the guy,
Oh man,
no. Get it done. Jeez, unbelievable. The story about Al Golden from a family standpoint, leaving his family here in Cincinnati and commuting, to Notre Dame and coming back as often as he possibly can, because he had kids that, they were at an age at school where, he didn't want to disrupt that. Man, you talk about sacrifices. That's unbelievable. That's life of a football family, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And those talks come up every time you move. Do we keep the family in place where we're at and let them continue to live, in the same community that they've been raised in, or do you move them? And, there's pluses and minuses to everything. And so, but you just talked about the resiliency and adversity. It's really, these are life lessons, tools that you're able to teach your kids when you do move, how to build new relationships and how to be outgoing and how you handle these things, because obviously for kids it's not easy, but they're children of coaches, so I guess you could kind of say they got a military background, right? Or you move a little bit. So I think it's growth, and for my kids, not always easy, but I love being around my kids. I'm glad they're here with us, and but we very easily could have gone either way with the moves. So, but we're here. We're excited about being in Ohio and Cincinnati, and there's a lot of good stuff to offer around here for them. So
There is, Coach. I mean, I've been here, gosh, full time since 1975, I guess. Drafted in '74, but I mean, it's a great place to raise a family.
yeah,
It's a great community, tremendous restaurants, theater, arts. I mean, for a small city, it's got big city amenities, and The school systems are incredible. The kids will get a heck of an education here. I mean, it's got a lot to offer, and I'm sure your family will take full advantage of it, Coach, and rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Coach, I can't thank you enough for carving the time that you've carved for us. I know that you're going to be busy as busy can be tomorrow when you're in that when you're in that group. It leaves off, man. Specialists and defensive line, and it should. Defensive line starts it, offensive line ends it, and all the other stuff in between. But that's where games are won and lost right there, man. The O-line and the D-line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thanks for having me.
Coach, thank you. Enjoy your time, and hopefully you unearth some talent there in Indy.
Yeah. Hoping for the same thing. So again, thanks for having me. I enjoy it every time. So
appreciate you, sir. You're the best.
All right. Take care.
Dave Lapham here. While games are over for the season, there's no off season for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham or First Star Logistics. First Star Logistics gave away great prizes during the season, which will continue with exclusive content in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. So please do me a favor, subscribe to In the Trenches, hit the like button, and visit the First Star Media Group YouTube channel for exclusive content and special giveaways.